I started this video in March. I didn't intend there to be such a long gap between the two parts of the video, but the world obviously fell apart and I kind of took my art in a different direction. Not that I still didn't want to do this video, I will admit there was a bit of a struggle. So about 2 years ago, I decided to give up kind of drawing people, drawing portraits. It had been something I loved in the past, but it just wasn't fitting well with me currently. I was drawing portraits and not really enjoying them. I didn't like the outcomes, and it was a struggle because the first two things you're supposed to do in chapter 1 of this book is draw a portrait and then draw another one. I drew the first one for the first video and that was okay. I didn't like the drawing and I said I had problems in that one too. And then I started working on this one. So this was my portrait from a photo. And I see problems with it. It took me a while to complete. I will admit, I rushed a lot of the hair and the finer details just to get this video out. I still want to make it though. And I still want to share my thoughts on this book, especially considering I still like the process of learning and examining learning. And I hope it's still helpful to you. The first part of this series, we left off with 2 portraits. One was out of your head and the second is using a reference. I'll be showing you the results of that in this video today, but for the next part of this book, it has to do with the brain and how it processes. This book was published in 1979 and right brain, left brain was a new idea. This explains why the book was written, but I don't really think it adds value to the process of learning to draw. If you want to add context to my opinions, I have a lot of left brain traits. My teachers in college said I didn't act like an artist or the other art teachers. This doesn't mean I learned art against the odds, it just means I liked art and I put in the time to learn it. With that in mind, since I don't think you need to know about the brain in order to learn to draw, I'm going to skip ahead to chapter 4. Face and faces is the first exercise in chapter 4. I'm not sure this exercise is that important. I feel there are other ways that will help you develop faster than this exercise, but the explanation for this exercise is absolutely needed. To quote, "You probably lost the sense of drawing a profile and found yourself scanning back and forth in the space between the profile, establishing angles, curves, inward curving, and outward curving shapes, and lengthening of line in relation to the opposite shapes, which now become unnamed and unnameable." Basically, by trying to make both sides symmetrical, you focus on the spacing and shape of what you are drawing, above all else. Here is where we go back to chapter 1 and I show you my portrait. Okay, not my portrait. I chose Cersei from The Witcher to cash in on those sweet, sweet fan views. My first step is to outline every little color change. By doing this, I work on a small area at a time and I focus on the space between each area. Basically the exact thing you were trying to do with face, vase. As you can see here, I am taking the original image and outlining the tone. Tone means the light and dark areas and all the in-between. This was done without tracing in the original drawing, and I am tracing now as a visual aid for your explanation. You can do this to help you analyze the image, but please don't do this for images you plan on using for social media. It's rude. Face-based drawing number 2 is often left out at school's art classes, and until this section, I didn't know it was a thing. I had done part 1 in class, but never did I get to do the monster face part. That's kind of bullshit, as they are stepping stones to a larger goal. Leaving out parts leads to sloppy results. Drawing a monster face after a regular face helps guide you from thinking of what the object is to thinking about the space and proportions. You know, the important bits. The third exercise in this section is turning the image upside down to better shift from viewing the image as a face to seeing shapes. Outlining tones from an upside-down photograph will quickly improve your drawing and observational skills. Personally, I would start here if you want to develop faster. To quote, "Everything you need to know in order to draw the image is right in front of your eyes, and that is the most important thing when it comes to drawing. Yet, some really don't get it. I remember observational drawing with my middle schoolers, and one girl, for the life of her, couldn't notice that the soul she was drawing had an X shape in the middle and not a single pole connecting the leg. You really, really, really do have to understand what it is you're looking at. If you can't see a basic shape, like a circle or a triangle, that will impede your ability to draw more than anything else. Learning to use your eyes is more important than any tool you have, what your hands are doing, what's in your mind's eye. That is the absolute basics of drawing. Recognizing shapes and then adding details. Use your eyes. All in all, Chapter 4 does have simple, great exercises to start your drawing path. Personally, it's a little bit slow in its development, and oftentimes if you see this happening in a class, it's not explained what it's supposed to do, and therefore if you don't know what an exercise is supposed to do, you're just going to fail at it. There is no way that just doing these exercises is going to help you. You really have to understand what the goal is, and I do feel the author explains that well. It's just applying it in the classroom has gone awry. All in all, practice your tones, practice your proportions, and you will get better. Promise it. Do observational drawing. Best thing ever. I'm going to end it here. We'll go on to the next chapter in the next video. Bye!